Yeah, that's strong.
They gave me this.
Time to get ready to start.
Yes, sir.
Greg, get your seat. I left my glasses in the car. As soon as I do this, I'm like, you go ahead.
Don't get your glasses. Don't start with that.
No, go ahead. I got this hat.
We need to send it again
Turn off right there.
Yeah, turn it off for each time.
to the committee. Yeah.
Can you see now? Okay. Welcome to the Bladen County Special Meeting, April the 24th. If you'll please stand, I'll lead us in prayer, and Mr. Martin will lead us in pledge allegiance. Our Father, as we meet here tonight, we ask for your guidance. Help us to make wise decisions for the people of Bladen County. Give us wisdom so that we can meet our obligations and be in harmony with each other. Thank you for all the blessings that you give us daily, and please keep us safe as we travel home tonight. We ask these things in your precious holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike Jackson. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I am with the chair of the Bladen County Animal Control Board, and I've got some information with me that I'd like to share with you tonight. And it is on the estimated minimum staffing needs for the animal control shelter. This source is the National American Control Association, and it is through the National Animal Care and Control Association. And this study was done absolutely free to you at no charge. The bottom line of all this study is, I can go through all this line item information, but right now we're taking in about 1,800 animals a year. That's about 4.9 animals a day. There's going to be approximately 75 animals in the shelter at any given time. And to conduct the necessary work, it takes about 1,110 minutes or 18.5 hours a day to do this work. And that gives you about 6 minutes to clean, 9 minutes for cleaning and 6 minutes for feeding of the animal. And these hours are based solely on the performance of these two tasks, but allowing for further time in the day to perform the other routine maintenance duties that are at the shelter at this time. This formula states that we need about 2.16 additional staff members than we have right now in order to do this. Our shelter has maintained its certification and has came a long way, but we really are understaffed at this point, and in order to meet the needs and for the cat calls especially, and to meet the needs of the public, we need 2.16 persons in order to do that. And we can go through these. If you got any questions, we can look at this further and talk about it. But basically, I'm coming before you tonight asking you for 2 people that will be shelter attendants to work at the shelter. One of these individuals will be on the road quite some time, and when you look at these numbers, you'll see that you're staffing a shelter for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with 6 people, if those were included.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jackson, how are you currently handling your operations based on the need for 2 additional employees? When you come into an ordeal where you're needing that assistance, what are you doing now to fulfill your obligations?
At the present time, we are falling behind on our ability to meet the demand of the calls that we have out there. And on many occasions, we're having to, I won't say we're forego cleaning, but we're having to not clean as much as we should at this facility that we have. And we are taking our officers off the street and putting them in to actually clean to standard. We have to clean these kennels and pressure wash them to meet the state standard for our inspection in order to keep our accreditation. So at the present time, you know, we got some inmate staff, and I'm very appreciative for that. But the inmates, by the time you get them trained, they're gone. I won't say that they're not, yeah, I will say they're not interested in this job. When you send an inmate and say, hey, clean that kennel there, you understand the response that you're going to get. But at this time, we're basically pulling our people off of the street some. We're falling behind on our calls for the people in the county. And the lead time before I get to your house, unless it's an emergency, no one is going to be there to address your complaint.
Mr. Carter, my question is, I know we're looking at requesting, what is it any, I'm trying to look at what's the financial cost of this. What is it cost of staff? Have y'all looked at that? What kind of staffing? What is it, have we gotten to that point yet?
I will come in later time. Mr. Martin will look up that.
There is a request in the budget. I'm not sure if it was for two. It was for one position or two part-time is the way I understood it.
Say it again.
The budget request, as I understand it, was for one position or two part-time positions.
Okay.
I know what it costs.
With the hiring, if we agree to do the hiring of the two additional, what will their jobs be on the daily, or when they're on the clock, and how is that going to make our animal shelter run more effectively?
Those individuals will be basically shelter attendants, and it will free up an officer so that we can get out to an individual. I'm not sure of what the daily lead time is now, or the days in lead time for some of our calls, but our calls are falling further back than they were. It's several days, but unless you have an emergency call, it's going to be several days for someone to respond to that call. And also, it'll give an individual, we're adopting more animals than ever before out of the shelter, and it'll give an attendant an ability to come out and spend a little bit of time with a prospective person that wants to adopt an animal and be able to bring them in and take it into an isolated room away from the other dogs and meet. If you've got a pet, you can meet the pet, meet the kids, and it'll give an overall more robust experience for those individuals and a better experience of the dog or cat that you adopt out.
Mike, your answer yours is 23,000 plus fringe.
Per person.
Plus fringe.
23.
Any other questions?
I have two. First one, how many officers do you have currently that travel on the road and make the calls?
2.
And about how many calls per week or you get on average?
I couldn't tell you that. I would say 4 per day. I can provide
About
you
4 a
that.
day? No, that's quite a bit. Okay.
Those four, Mr. Chairman, those four include emergency calls? Those
Yep.
4 per day?
I'm pulling a number out there. I can't answer that directly.
Generally.
Any emergency call, we're going to address immediately.
Mr. Dallas, people that's been assigned to county work duty from the court, are y'all still getting participation in that?
Yes, we are. We are getting some inmate service.
Mr. Chairman, what about, do you ever get like community service individuals referred to you by the court for community service?
We have had in the past, but I'm not aware of any at the present time, sir.
Mr. Jackson, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to make this presentation, and we'll
Greg, we'll talk about it later time during the budget.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you for what you're doing. Item 2, item 3, Mr. Jim. We discussed this last meeting, consider approving the request for additional detention staff and deputy positions. Is there any more questions of the sheriff at this time?
Did I understand you say we had 15 people that outside of the county being housed?
Today, we got 18 people outside the county.
But at $50 a day, how much would that be on the average a month?
It was $192,000 last year.
So that
That's
was-
$900 a day right now.
Yeah, it's approximately $18,000 per person per year. If you have one every day, it's $18,000.
Between what the county's spending on the housing detainees outside the county and the difference in the 13 you're asking for.
That's for
It's
3 today and 2.
3.
3 and 2.
What would be the difference in the pay with considering the money that we'd be saving by housing our own people and the difference in the
Mr. David, if we stayed on track with 15, 18 people, it would be a lot less if we hired the 3 people.
Mr. Dowes, Mr. Barton's already calculated
That's
all
what
that
it is.
into the budget and previous.
Yeah, that
So it's already been taken, already. I entertain a motion to,
I got one question. I know you talk about training your staff and putting your staff in place, but would this take effect not until after the budget start, or will it take effect before? How you get them trained and ready to go in August?
If we get okay, we want to send our people, you get them trained, get them certified by the time the detention center opens.
By the time it's open?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Priest made a motion to approve, is there a second? Second, Mr. Gooden, discussion, Mr.
I
Bullock.
just got one question now. Once you get full capacity, then these employees that you're requesting will be ample enough to run them.
I'm not saying that. And you know, and Mr. Bullock, you weren't here last Monday, and Mr. Charles Brown, the jail inspector, when he comes down, he's the only person can say you can't open with that number of people. I think if we approve these people, we'll be okay to open. And as time goes along, if we see we need additional people, I think it'd be easier to make y'all see we need additional people if they run the way I think it's going to.
Okay, so these that you're requesting now might be not enough enough staff to be fully
Yes, sir.
utilized, I guess you'd say.
Yes, sir. But we're trying to start at a minimum to save money and see if they will work, is what we're trying to do.
All right, thank you, sir.
Any more questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, sir. Greg Martin, 2017-18 budget information and discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
back
sir.
to the question. Is that the 2 deputies also?
That's it, 3 and 2.
Thank you.
5, right?
Thank you.
We got a packet on this or something?
That's it.
That's it.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Pleased to have the opportunity to meet with you this afternoon to just discuss preliminary information related to the fiscal 2018 budget. I have a PowerPoint of information that we will review, and I know this is, for several of you, this is the first time we've gone through the budget, so please don't hesitate to stop me at any point you have a question, and I want it to be as helpful as it can possibly be.
Yeah, if you have a question, we'll stop right where it was at and ask. Let's just be courteous and let one speak at a time, but don't hesitate to ask if you don't know. Be easier to do it today as we move forward in this budget process.
The information we'd like to review is the 2016 audited fund balance information, which you've seen previously. And then look at our fiscal year 2017 highlights and projections, as well as the priorities for the upcoming year budget. The 2016 audited information, for your review, the total was $20,159,882. That was the total. Of that, 12.2 was unassigned. And I just want to kind of review these items. Restricted by state statute, that $4 million, that is revenue that had not yet come in on June 30th. Remember, an audit is a snapshot as of the day of June 30th of a given year. That $4 million is money that came in after June 30th, but was still accrued back to the fiscal year. Public safety money, that's let me see what that is. That's equitable sharing funds. The 4-H money is trust money. The education money is unspent sales tax funds. Many of you will recall that this past year, the board began a practice of asking the Board of Education to make a specific request for each of the capital projects. As of June 30th, there was $215,000 of sales tax revenue that was earmarked for the school system for that fiscal year that had not been requested by the school system at that time, so that's that money. And then the debt reserve money is related to the USDA loan for the EMS building. Then at this time, or as of June 30th, there was $352,114 reserved or committed for the revaluation project, and $907,000 was assigned by the board for various projects. And then the subsequent year's expenditures, that's the money that was budgeted for this current budget that we are in now. And that brings a total of 12.2 unassigned and a total of 20.1. So I just wanted to remind you where that money came from. And looking at this current year that we are quickly moving through, the highlights include strong property tax and sales tax collections, which is very positive. And want to remind you that we budgeted the money for as if we were going to spend or make the debt service payment related to the new jail, as well as some other items related to the new jail. And then, we sold the home health agency in late March, and that certainly was a positive thing for the county. Therefore, the estimated fund balance as of June 30th, and again, this is an estimate, we began the year again with $20.1 million. The projected revenues total $48 million. The projected expenditures total $42.3, and there is a difference there of $5,771,537, bringing the total to $25.9. Now, yes, sir.
Maybe you get ready to explain. I was getting ready to ask where that $5,771,000.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. That's what I want us to spend a moment discussing. If you'll back up one, it includes money for. Remember, I just mentioned the $1.1 million was for the new jail expenses. That was budgeted as if we would spend it, but we didn't, or we won't this year. It also included the sale of the home health agency, which was 1.9, and property taxes came in over budget about $1 million, and sales tax came in over budget hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when you add those items together, that's approximately $5 million of the total.
Is that going to be outlined on the information you can give us to show where it came from, Ms. Cole?
That's what he just went over. That's where it came over. It's in your budget. It's in your part.
It was actually at the bottom of that.
It's on the bottom of the screen right there.
It's at the bottom of that page.
In the real fine print.
You may not be able to read it, but we just highlighted at least the three big items that were related there. And again, the point I want to make on that, and I'll revisit it near the end, is that those are the sales tax and property taxes are, fortunately, those hopefully will be recurring sources of revenue. However, the debt service cost and the additional expenses related to the jail will come due this upcoming year. And we also know that the sale of the home health agency is a one-time source of revenue. So while we were very fortunate that we're having a positive year this year, that's not reflective of the situation for next year. And particularly when we look at the additional expenses that we will have or propose related to employee compensation and just public safety and those types of things in general. The priorities for this upcoming year's budget include public safety, employee compensation, and we have a significant amount of, that we are exploring for capital and non-inventorable items. And again, non-inventorable items are one-time type items that are below the $5,000 threshold to become a capital item.
Such as what? Give an example.
Some kind of like a little piece of equipment that costs $3,000 that wouldn't cost $5,000. Because the 5 is the threshold for it to become a capital item, so
Right.
anything under that $5,000 threshold.
But no service, like equipment, vehicles, but no service.
Right.
Technical service, no service, thank you.
No, it wouldn't be service. The adopted budget for this current year was $42,248,878. The requested, for the request we've received to date, and that basically is everything except the Board of Education's request, totals $44,309,830. And then the draft that we're looking at this point is $42.6 million. We'll look into that.
Hey, on that,
Yes, sir.
on that 5 million that we spoke about, what we saying that would just be drafted, be used for 17, but in 18 we're gonna have to go back to all that expenditure, that 5 million being gone. Or what portion of that will be left in the next budget year? If it's one-time expenditure, how much it would be regenerated back in next year?
Well, we propose, with the information that we're looking at this point, we do propose to spend a portion of that, of our fund balance, about 1.7 million, and you'll see that in better detail. But it is for, earmarked specifically for capital and one-time related items, not things that would be recurring in nature.
Okay.
And I'm gonna kind of hit that point hard at the very end of our plan. I know this is a pretty good amount of detail or whatever. What I'm trying, just to help, to give context to this, I'm trying to kind of point out some of the things that you will hear about or you may want to look for that's hard to find in a thick budget document, so we just tried to lay them out in easy to read slides for your review. So if you have any thoughts about them, or if you have any conversation you want to revisit, or you want to call me and let me know what you're hearing or your thoughts or whatever, please feel free to over the course of the coming weeks. Elections is asked for voting equipment carts, and that's a total of $23,880. The Register of Deeds is in the process of doing a deed book automation project. The cost for this upcoming year that is requested is $43,000. Central Services has been informed by the town of Elizabethtown that we need to install backflow preventers on our building, in our buildings, or for the water service for our buildings. And the cost of that is approximately $30,000. Central Services Facility Maintenance Building and $96,000. That's not something that we really have given strong consideration to at this point. The men's restroom, $10,000 project. That's in the courthouse. To seal the courthouse wall is $10,000. That's here in the courthouse as well. Ag Center updates, and that's basically a restroom renovation project on the Farm Service Agency side of the building, as well as some counter improvements in that building. That's $10,000. To renovate the sheriff's office, I understand that is a very high figure. $120,000 was the figure that we were given as an estimate. I understand that about $60,000 of that is related to wiring improvements that will need to be made if the tax office and finance move there, and we need to have the additional computer services that come with the One Tax and the AS400 mainframe computer. So that's the bulk of what that's related to.
So who's going there?
Well, there's been discussion over the past year or so about relocating the tax office to the courthouse to make it more customer friendly, because now if a citizen comes to the tax office, they have to go to the front door, or if they're handicapped, they can come to the back door. But it would be so much more of a convenience for our citizens if that office was relocated. We've also talked about relocating the finance office and our office to co-locate those three offices together.
With the same security system that they use in the sheriff's office to be left intact over there?
I guess
Yes,
it probably
sir.
could.
Yes, sir.
Could.
That's good.
That's good.
There's a couple of items that have been requested for a motor pool, a tire balancer, and a heavy-duty drive lift. that really hasn't been a strong consideration given to that. A portable brake rotor machine is being considered. Stationary brake lathe machine has been requested. Also, a diagnostic computer piece of equipment has been requested, and that's $48.59. And I know these are relatively minor for some of them. We just listed everything so that the total would balance at the end. The sheriff's office has asked for these are examples of non-inventoriable items, Dr. Montgomery's, like gas masks and ballistics vests and those types of things. Yes, sir.
Why would the county need to install a backflow preventer?
I think it's part of an order. Maybe the town has an ordinance of backflow prevention order.
There's no other water service. Why would they want back?
That's what I was asking.
I guess just to be sure that there's no outside source can come back into the system or whatever. I know the county has a backflow prevention ordinance as well. But they're saying that our buildings, the age of our buildings is requiring.
Yeah. I know we had to do it at fitness center and any commercial
They want you to pay for that. Why ain't that?
Right.
That'd be a part of this service.
Sorry.
Pay for it.
Don't we have to, what we're gonna do it out there at Register, put a backflow in there for, when you had that problem? Why are we're doing it and they're not doing it? Why are we having to pay for it?
Yeah.
Well, each business is responsible for their respective.
Do that for residential, do
No, it's for, I understand it's for commercial. I mean, this
You're not
particular.
grandfathered in?
Apparently not. Apparently the age of the buildings is what's requiring the staff to actually upgrade them. Or install them. I'm not sure if we have, well, obviously we don't have what's being required at this point.
But if you
Talk to
got
Adam about that.
if you got a regular business downtown and they're with, they not. I haven't heard them saying thing. Why
They've
they
sent
put
letters. I understand they've sent letters to
everybody this business do work?
maybe it's everyone who has a business that doesn't meet the requirements or is not in compliance.
What if they, for me, they sent it to HealthWorks, and you have to have someone come to make sure that you are in compliance. And then if you are not in compliance, you've got to have this additional backflow
Prevention valve, whatever.
put on. And so
I'll follow up
you
with
may or
that.
you may not already have it, up to code. But if you don't, then yeah, you're gonna have to.
The reason I'm asking is when they put in the new meters that came through in the businesses, they put them in where you can't tamper with them anymore. And I thought they put the black folk regulators up then. That's what they were telling us, that they didn't want you turn it off or turn it on. Only person can turn it off or turn it on is them. And they put those things in. It didn't cost anything.
I'll double check. I didn't. Kip McCleary received the letter, and I'll follow up with him. Patrol car, 10 patrol cars for the sheriff's office. You know, we've been on a rotation, 10 a year. We got off track last year, and we got back. We tried to make up for that this year. We got 6 last year, 14 this year, so 10 to get us back on track as far as that.
How many more you need?
That rotation schedule. 10 is pretty well the number I think that's being asked for, isn't it?
11.
11, okay.
But we normally do 10, right?
That's been the practice that we've tried to stick with. And that's really seemed to work well. That's been a big improvement for motor pool and I'm sure the deputies as well.
How fast do you put my rotation shift?
We're trying to pull them out 100,000 miles and get them somewhere else.
Training center renovations at the.
Let's go back to that animal control dog box.
Okay, I'm sorry, let's get that. Animal control dog box and a vehicle for animal control. And that is a required, I don't know if we've had any discussion about it, but I think that box will be air conditioned if I'm not mistaken. And so there's a requirement that animals be maintained in air conditioned boxes if they're in vehicles for certain periods of time, and as large as our county is. It's hard for them to immediately come back. If they're on a call down in Kelly, they may have another call in East Arcadia, and it might be some time before they get back to town. And so
this is mounted on a vehicle?
yes, sir, in the back of in the bed of a truck.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. I was wondering, I saw a $6,000 dog box.
Yeah, that's what that.
Heated also.
Sir?
Is it heated in the wintertime?
I'm not sure about it. Maybe.
Right. And their vehicles paid from their fund.
Thank you, Lisa, that's a good point. I want to remind you all too, that the health department established a vehicle fund years ago, and it has really served the department well over the years. The funding for that vehicle would come from that fund, so there are funds earmarked for that type of thing. Emergency services, training center renovations, 48, some of you may recall that an appropriation was made in this current year budget for those types of renovations. Not all of them have been completed. And so I think this is pretty much to do the balance of the things that need to be completed beyond the money that's still
I have got it, but what all are you renovating out there? That's what I'm kind of figuring. Those modular units, what is all this renovation going into?
Well, just keep in mind, we took over that property. The only thing left there was walls and paint. And we've had to.
Well, Master, what facility? I know you got the station that was out there for the board and the other place out there. You had to renovate that too?
Yes, sir.
The little building on the outside. Then you got to renovate the cafeteria piece of it too? Used to be cafeteria?
We're working on that now. We're fixing to bring a classroom building online.
And there's 2 more buildings out there. So all this stuff is going to be fully renovated, everything out there.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
what you're doing?
You need to take time and go look and see what they've done.
I know, I'm just asking what all they renovating.
I mean, most of it's been done by volunteers.
Or donated to by various organizations and people. It's amazing what's out there.
The only thing I want to know is what all were you renovating? That's my question. Was you renovating the complete place?
The whole facility.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Do we get any revenue at all from this place?
You're training your firefighters, you're bringing other firefighters in, they're gonna spend money in Bladen County. It's gonna be a training center.
We're not having to pay to send them off to go somewhere else to train. We're able to bring people here.
And we can't get Rouser to talk to the U.S. Marines about giving us no money. The federal government ain't got no money to give you no donation with Congressman Rouser.
Well, they reimbursed us for the day of their exercise. They'll provide us funds to have an EMS truck, fire truck, and a couple deputies there. But other than that, they don't. I've even tried building them after we've had some major expenses on their behalf.
And they won't pay.
They can't be contracted early on.
Motion back to the list here. Emergency services has requested 5 AEDs, that's automatic external defibrillators. That's for Mr. Bradley Kinlaw and his staff, so that as they're out in the county and the call comes in, they'll have an AED. And I think this is one that meets the same requirements as the ones used by EMS.
Yes, sir. It'll match up with the ones EMS has got, so we don't have to spend another $100 on pads.
Right. And then there are eight heating and air conditioning system improvements that need to be made in various buildings. And the age of our units, they don't meet the new requirements as far as the whatever, I can't remember what the number is now that goes with it, but anyway, the energy and environmental upgrades that have come into place now, our units don't meet that, so they need to be, as they're changed out, they're more expensive to
You can make
replace.
it back in the savings of power.
Right. Bunker rake has been requested at Recreation for $12,000. That's not, fund is not being considered at this point. A master plan update for the Parks and Recreation program is an important project that needs to be completed so that the Parks and Recreation Department will be eligible for grant funding.
How often you have to do that, Greg?
About every 10 years. And it's
We just did it.
It feels like it, but it's been 9 years or so now. It's coming up time to update it. And that's a much cheaper, I don't know if some of you may remember, it was close to $30,000 if I'm not mistaken when we did the original plan, because the information is still so relevant. It's only $12,500 to upgrade it.
Greg, I have a question on that. What did you say? You said that we need to update it so that we're eligible for a grant?
Particularly the main grant funding is for Parks and Recreation programs. It's the part of the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. And in order to be eligible for those funds, you are required to have a current master plan for your program. And so we did that, I don't know if it was 2008 or sometime, and fortunately did receive, I don't know if it was $250,000 or so in part of funds to upgrade the park.
Mhm.
One of the improvements were made there a few years ago, so now it's time to upgrade that master plan again so that we'll be eligible for future grant funding.
Okay.
Yes.
This, pave, King Street parking lot. Which parking lot is that?
That's the one that just came in recently. But that's the one right beside the Parks and Recreation, right beside the gym, between the gym and that first
Fence.
first ball field. So it's a relatively small area.
They're gonna go all the way around behind it, where you have to drive in all the big holes back behind.
Well, there'd probably be a walking, I think they were talking about a walking path, like if a handicapped person or something.
Because I know if you go in there now, they have a red mud hall up in there all the time, you can't get in the place.
Yeah.
There's
I
not
was
a lot
talking-
of space there. What's going to be put there? I mean, there's not much space to do anything with that parking lot.
No,
That supposed parking lot.
And we don't have funding in there at this point for that. But I know I was talking to Eddie Madden last week, and the town is expanding its skateboard park to, now it's the half pipe or whatever kind of for the more advanced skaters, but they're gonna do something this for beginners and more intermediate level. And that's gonna be behind the existing facility, which is gonna inhibit Grant and his staff from being able to pull out on the Moorhead Street or what, that side street. So that won't really be an option for them in the future going forward, so.
I have a question about
Yes, ma'am.
on the master plan update. Does that look at countywide?
It does.
And so if other areas who need support, do they need to put it in to him at that time?
There'll be ample opportunity for that type of interest to be communicated. Yes. There'll be all kinds of outreach efforts made to give communities and citizens around the county the opportunity to express their interest in what they'd like to see in terms of parks and recreation services.
The nurse helped from DSS, or someone came in and they asked for funds. Is that anywhere in this plan? Remember they wanted some funds to extend the summer program?
Right. I don't know that it's in our current plan.
This is facility needs more or less.
Okay.
But my
My
question,
program oriented, like facilities, new paving and new fields.
my question, when you spoke with Eddie Madden, Mr. Madden about that, they utilize that parking lot more so than the county utilizes that parking lot. They ain't willing to pay part of that parking lot to get the pavement, because it's county property. They use it just as much for baseball games all the time.
Yeah, it is used by
He
the,
wouldn't
but it's
talk
county,
about.
I don't know that he would. I just heard about this. This just came in last week, so I
You
really
talk to
haven't
him
had
and see
any
if he'll
conversation.
split the cost.
I know they're paving that new,
Yeah,
area in
they'll
that new
split the
park you was
cost.
talking
But they utilize it for the baseball field, and you come up there all the time.
about. I'll talk with them about that. The Division on Aging has funding for a van, and again, I want to remind you, that's 10% county and 90%
That,
federal.
your draft wouldn't be 54,250, would it? If you're just paying 10% of it?
Well, we have to show that's the total cost. We have to show the total cost, and then we'll show the revenue source coming in,
It'd
to show
be 5,400, right?
the total. The library has requested a van. They actually just obtained one or purchased one this year, so that would be a second one. And at this point, funding's not being considered for that. The auditorium roof replacement at the at Bladen Community College is listed as the #1 priority for their capital projects, and that's a expensive cost, $340,500. But as you'll see, DSS has a roof replacement that's not far behind it. Both roof replacement projects would remove the existing roof all the way down to the decking. And I know at DSS, last time they went over the existing roof, and apparently there was moisture in the existing roof and termites, and then they started going through the top. It's just been a fiasco. So
Great.
both of those.
That tax reallocation of money, they can't use that for this particular type project? Is this void for Bladen Community College to use the funds that we give them for this type of project?
For the roof replacement?
Yeah, for those type of
Well, I
projects.
mean, that revenue, you'll see in just a moment, we basically are budgeting that revenue for a number of projects, but that one-time roof, it's gonna come from somewhere, so it's a wash either way, but really, we don't have enough funds out of that 700,000. There's not 340 available for that project. We've already spent we have more earmarked than
No,
and would
the
allow
only
us
reason I was
to.
asking was I was just looking at those funds and I want to know how could they be used? Could they be used for the roof?
Well, they're being used for, or proposed for, their operating. They've also requested an increase in their current expense funding at the community college, and so we have proposed an increase. It's not the full increase that's being requested, and I'll speak to that in just a moment as well.
Okay, now, I was when you said that was the number one priority, I was wondering.
On
why they-
capital, I'm sorry, let me specify, on capital items that we're reviewing here. They have a long list of capital items, but the roof replacement project is number one, and they listed them in priority order. And Dr. Fent will be here on Monday to present the budget request to you personally.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
various other items,
That's the BCC, that's the long list I was referring to.
we gonna see the list.
Oh, certainly, yes, sir.
It's attached into your packet.
Oh, is it?
Mhm. It's on this sheet. There's a whole list of them in the capital outlay.
How much did we allocate to them last time I got pre-tax allocation?
Was it 100?
How much did we give them?
How much that extra sales, how much did we
Wrong
increase their,
There is, look in this, look in this,
In this?
it was outside of the,
It's on the back page, capital outlay.
keep looking. It was in that whole packet I left on your desk, on your table.
On the back.
It's a separate.
The front page looked like that.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, the- No, I said it wasn't there.
No, it's not with PowerPoint, no, sir.
Sorry.
So,
I looked.
how much did we allocate them out of that tax reallotment, the allocation?
It was
money?
109.
it was just over 100.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
I certainly hope if, or however this budget falls out, if we do any
106,
roof replacement, somebody does some homework on these roofers, because DSS hasn't been nothing but a headache.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's because of the
Tattooed with that job, so I hope we've learned a lesson there.
we have.
Okay. That's all I'll say then.
Greg, we
At
put
the time, that appeared to be a good, the 12-year warranty for the money appeared to be a good investment, but we didn't realize there were termites in the existing roof to begin with. So
we put 106, 144 to BCC.
okay, 106. And then we increased it 40 for this year, if I'm not mistaken, for this upcoming. But I'll speak to that more in detail in just a minute. And then HVAC unit in the district courtroom, they are having an issue with moisture, and one unit was replaced in this current year, and then this will be the second unit to help finalize that project. Facilities fees, money would pay for that. Then a roof replacement project at DSS. I want to just let you know that approximately 50% of the cost of that roof would be reimbursed. However, it will be over a 3-year period, so we'd receive half of a third in next year's budget and so forth for the next 2 subsequent years. A remount crossover ambulance for, moving to EMS now. They have requested 1 remount ambulance and 1 crossover ambulance. A crossover ambulance is a smaller van-style ambulance for non-emergency transports, and they actually just purchased one here in the past couple of weeks, and it's a more efficient style or model of van for performing non-emergency transports, and it's cheaper. So they've asked for a couple of other projects related to windshield cameras.
What is windshield cameras? What's the purpose of those?
You have it. I think the windshield camera actually is back reflected on the staff.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. Would record the staff as they're traveling and doing.
Why would we want that?
It was requested just for I guess for some type of internal control
And
type.
there's some part of it that looks back into the patient department.
Well, I asked you again, why would,
Something messing
just need to know more
around.
about that.
Yeah, it's
Need that
a
to be
management
benefit.
tool, I think is what it was intended to be. And then handheld radios for EMS, 13,000. So anyway, bottom line is the total requested at this point is $2,829,338. The amount that's being considered at this point is just over 1.6. Again, I want to be very clear. I understand that's a significant amount of money, and that really the only reason the county is in a position to consider that is because of the one-time surplus money I just referred to at the beginning of the meeting.
Craig, you make me go back, that 304 is you got it over here, it's on the approved item. Is that, now how you explain that happened with DSS again now? With that bad roof that's been leaking all this time?
Yes, sir.
How are we
It's to
doing that
replace.
again?
Okay, and then the warranty is now up on that roof project. There was a 12-year warranty. What happened when that roof project was performed 12 years ago, there was a roof that, it basically just went over the existing roof that was there. They did not remove it back to the metal decking. And just within the past, 2 years, it's come to our attention. Robert Missouri was back and forth with the roof people, and they earned their money on the warranty work related to that because they have come numerous times. And they were saying that you're having a problem with holes in the roof, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, they finally went, since Kit LeClary's been here, they've peeled the roof back and taken pictures, and they can see that apparently there were termites in the old roof, and there was moisture that was trapped there, which served as a source for life.
Greg, what about our termite, our termite contract?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Have we checked into that?
Yes, sir, it was.
And it's not,
Well, I don't know that it apply, I don't know that they could get in there to it. I mean, it was a complicated
yeah, but when you
mess.
buy that, you buy the contract and you buy the warranty.
Well, I don't know that there's any, once you put that roof on top of it, that additional roof, I don't know that there's any way to access it to do the treatment.
Well, don't we pay a certain number of, X number of dollars each month?
We do.
For protection?
Typically.
Well, someone need to look into
I mean,
that.
I guess,
Termite has to go back to the ground, every 24 hours.
I don't know.
So correct, and they treat the ground and you kill the termite.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
So you saying the $304,000
Treat the roof.
is we gonna go in there and tear the whole roof off
Down to the metal decking.
Down to
Half of
that.
that cost will be reimbursed.
and put the roof back
In
on?
3 years.
In
three years.
Of course, in 3 years.
3 years.
It'll be reimbursed back.
Yes, sir.
We need to check on that, Greg.
That's due,
I gotta know.
the reimbursement from the state.
Yes, sir. State, federal government, state,
They'll
federal.
they'll start giving it back to it.
Yes, sir.
Greg, on the EMS.
It's not gonna be the same company that put the roof on it.
No, sir. But I tell you now, they've worked hard. He'll pass a picture, he can show you, he'll share information with you about that.
Greg, Bradley,
Yes, sir.
handheld radio, what kind of radios do the EMS have now? I mean, I'm just trying to understand, why don't they have the radios and the,
Yes, sir.
why do we need this, or what are we asking for?
Well, what's happened, in 2008, when the major purchase for radios were made, those were new radios, and since then, we've been purchasing used radios because they were reduced cost. And now, thankfully, the cost of the radios has come down considerably. We can buy about 3 radios for what we used to buy 1 for 5 years ago. And these radios get carried 24/7.
They're just worn out. is what
They
you're
just
saying.
absolutely. And we bought used radios to start with, so.
But President,
Well, I mean, I just asked them.
Yes, sir.
well, I know we spoke about it one time, and I've looked at what you asked me for, but during the storm when it came through,
Yes, sir.
everything went blank, where you didn't have no radios, no cell phones, nothing. Do y'all have?
We did have radios.
Well, evidently I couldn't call nobody from my house, and everybody I knew couldn't call nobody. You couldn't get.
Didn't have cell service, no, sir.
Couldn't get EMS or nothing, so I'm trying to figure out, is there anything that we can put in place that would try and do away with that, or how did you get around? When people was asking me that everything went down, it was like we was completely cut off. And people want to know, a lot of people don't have nothing but cell phones now, they don't even have house phones.
That's the
I refer that to the Captain Singletary.
That's a systemic problem with cell phone coverage, and that's being handled on the state level from the 911 board side. Right now, most of your cell phone sites have a battery life. Most of them operate off battery, not generator. The ones that did have cell phone coverage in the hurricanes actually had generators up and running, but during Hurricane Matthew, we actually lost a central office here. And so that's why the regular phones quit. So anytime you have a natural disaster, that sort of stuff happens. I've been to a couple of meetings at the state level, and they're going to address those issues. But again, with the state level, it takes normally several years for all that to get rolled out. But they are aware of the issues. It has to do with the carriers and the requirements by the FCC as far as their power backup type stuff.
Okay. I didn't know it was something we could put in place that would support that, but I understand.
There's at least 3. Bladen, Robinson, Columbus.
Yeah, Bladen, Robinson, and Columbus, I know at least those 3
Everything's
lost
gone.
total 911
Yeah,
coverage for a
everything's
period of
gone.
time, so. That was bad. Okay, personnel. A number of positions have been requested. I want to remind you that our priority that we've looked at is primarily devoted or related or devoted toward implementation of the compensation study. And so that's been a big factor in the development of the budget to this point. Housekeeping is asking for an additional environmental assistant or housekeeping position. The sheriff has spoken to the positions being requested. Animal control, Mr. Jackson was just here to speak to that. Emergency services is requesting a part-time planner position. That's a position that is currently being funded through the Lumber River Council of Governments related to the storm. Emergency services is also requesting to reclassify the deputy fire marshal position to a fire marshal position. Division on Aging is asking to reclassify an in-home aide position that's a 53% position currently to a full-time position. That would be an increase. And then they're also requesting to reclassify a nutrition coordinator to a part-time position. That would be a cost savings.
This fire marshal reclassified from deputy fire marshal, would that go under that? The one that would be able to do those things you were talking about, like for $200 and do inspections, would that person be doing that in the county?
Yes,
Who
sir.
will be doing that? Is that the person who will be doing that?
Yes, sir.
Who does it?
They're
now?
doing it current, I mean, they're already doing the fire inspections.
But he just not a fire marshal. Is that what you're asking?
We're just trying to realign our organization to share some responsibility and provide me some more time to focus on emergency management.
So who's the fire marshal now? You?
Yes, sir.
So you want to replace that fire marshal with someone else?
We've got two deputy fire marshals. I'm asking to bring one up to a fire marshal level.
So we have two fire
So
marshals.
they can handle be responsible for everything related to fire.
So you will step down from being a fire marshal?
Yes, sir. They'll still work for me.
But you won't be a fire marshal?
Right.
And that position was sent to, we had that evaluated, and so we actually just got that information back today. So that figure, that's a very new figure.
I have a question on that then.
The housekeeping position, where would it be located?
It's partially related to the opening of the new detention center, but we've already had conversation about redistributing the workload. And the sheriff's been fortunate to have inmates in the jail to be able to help do. They currently help provide house cleaning services at the jail.
Yes, I was asking this to Bradley. You're stepping down. What would you be doing? You're stepping down. You're bringing someone up to your level. Is that what you're saying? You're bringing them up to the fire marshal level. So that your job requires more than what you're able to do at this time. So you're wanting to then bring somebody up to
Not to my level, but
to help
it's kind of
take
creating
over
another
some
level.
of the responsibilities
They'll
that
be
your
responsible
job
for everything
requires.
related to fire, and I can focus on planning for the next hurricane and exercising and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Some things I'm not able to do currently because of my job load.
Sure.
Extension is requesting a part-time office support, to continue a part-time office support. You'll recall maybe 2 years ago, last year, there was a change, the state made cuts in extension funding and actually shifted the proportion of funding more from the state to a higher portion now is funded by the county. And so they lost a position. They're now asking for that to be funded by the county again, which would just increase the county share of the cost even more. And so at this time, that's not being given consideration for the draft budget or the proposed budget. Social services is asking to reclassify an accounting tech 2 position to accounting tech 3. Also 2 additional positions are being requested. The first is a human services evaluator position, and the second is a community trainer position.
Are these new positions, Greg?
Yes, sir, they would be.
Does the state recognize these positions?
In terms of sharing in the cost, yes, sir.
So that's what I'm asking. So there is a reimbursement on the $50,000? Do we pay that? Who pays it?
There would be a we probably should have put on there approximately 50% or whatever the cost share is.
So some of the share on the cost would come from
Yes, sir,
some
it would.
for the state. And when they do accounting tech 2 and accounting tech 3, does that mean they're gonna reclassified that. She got more responsibilities, or they getting ready to bring somebody extra in? Why would they want to go?
I think they were
from 2 to
looking
3?
at, looking at the current workload or the tasks that are currently being performed relative to maybe to the job description and trying to true that up. You know, as part, we're also trying to implement this compensation study, so I guess I thought that.
Raise, that's what it is.
Well, I mean, it would in effect do that. I don't know if that's, I'm not saying that that's the point that they were trying to achieve, but it would do that. One point speaks to the DSS funding in closer detail, and that is, several of you will recall that a couple of years ago, the state shifted, it's actually the federal government, shifted its cost share from 50-50 on adult and children's Medicaid workers to 75 federal government, 25 county. And this chart illustrates the fact that that really has had a positive impact to the county. If you'll go back to the second row, the 2009-2010 year, that's the first year, just for those of you who are relatively new, that's the first year that the county had no expense related to Medicaid, direct expense related to Medicaid. And you can see that the expenditures dropped from 2009 to 2010 by over $1 million, or over 1.1, from 8.5 to 7.4. So if we look at that baseline year of 2009-2010, the county's share that year of the cost was $2,461,000 out of $7.4 million. If you'll go down to this past year, we have a little bit of an anomaly with 2014 and 2015. You can see 2014 was low at 1.9 on the county share, on the general fund share, the third column. And then in 2014, 2015, it was high at 2.8. So when you average those two out, it gets back toward the middle of being consistent with other years. And basically the average of those years is 2.4 million. And you can see that this past year in 2016, the county share remained low at 2.3 million, while the total expenditures for DSS had jumped to 8.4 million, which is $1 million higher than it was in 2010, but the county share was still relatively low. So that cost share difference has been positive for the county.
Is that because of all that new staff and they had to put in for FAS?
Well, they've done all that, and it's still low. That's what yes, sir, I didn't even state that, but you're right. They've added additional personnel related to NC Fast, and you know, we were concerned that savings may not materialize, but
We're gonna take 5 minutes.
Okay.
I've been trying to remember this stuff, guys. There's so much of it.